Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, continuing on with my Supercoach BBL team discussions. Today we have the Brisbane Heat. As always, check us out on all our social media platforms, in particular YouTube, Spotify. Get in contact with us via X, Supercoach Insider 100, or Swizz26 for me directly. If you haven't already, check out the Adelaide Strikers. I'm moving through all 8 teams in alphabetical order. One point I didn't make in the Strikers is you'll see under the likely round one teams, players blacked out. That'll be due to either injury or test selection, and we'll get in a little bit about that in a second. So the Brisbane Heat, no bye this season. So 9 straight games with a double with round 3. Not the easiest 2 matches for the double. Perth Scorchers away at Optus, and then Sydney Sixers at home in the Gabba. So currently I'm kind of looking at one of their players to start off with, and then looking at potentially trading in 1 or 2 others as we get to round 3. They do share the double with the Melbourne Stars and the Sydney Sixers. So probably in a perfect world, you want to kind of hopefully set your team up. If you were to use your boost that week and use 4 trades, you already have Stars players in your side. You might want to go, say, short down to Maxwell if he's available. And then you probably maybe an Akil Hussain from the Sixers and trying to, if you've already started another Sixers player, so that might give you sort of 5-6 between there. And then if you can add 2 or 3 Heat players to it, in a perfect world, start 1 Heat on maybe on your bench or in your flex position, and then trade in 2 players come that double round. All right, in regards to their lineup, so Colin Munro opening the batting was a great start to the season last year. A few people did get on the vice captain or captain him, and had the 134 points up against the Stars, but for the whole round scored 190. He's currently in 12% of teams. Hasn't had the best form over in the T10 in the UAE. Did score a 59 not out, but outside of that, did not really do a whole lot. And it was probably the story of his season last year. One great score and then not a lot. So somebody just to maybe monitor in those first couple of games, but I think he probably is an avoid this season. I think there's probably better options. I'm always looking for players who bat and bowl, or probably the bowlers more than anything. So for the 12% of teams with him in, I'd probably maybe look elsewhere. Jimmy Pearson, great keeper, but I'd probably leave him alone there. The third player, Matty Renshaw, is one I'm very interested in. Been in my side the entire time, currently in 20% of sides, in absolute ripping form. Scored 59 and 74 runs against Victoria in the first class match, and then also a 122 and a 121 versus Tassie in a one-dayer and a first class match. So it's just making runs for fun at the moment at 68k. It's hard to go wrong. He's got a break even of 23. Now, last season, he only scored an 18 against the Stars, but the previous year before that, to get a 147. That's always the issue with batsmen because they can be hit and miss. But if he does get going, with that break even, he can make some serious cash for us. So I think he's the easiest Brisbane Heat player to start and kind of stash on your bench until that round 3 double. I don't think there's much more to say about him. Moving on to Tom Alsop, who is the English batsman wicketkeeper. Be interesting to see what they kind of do because Pearson, obviously I rate his keeping a lot, one of the best keepers in Australia, but it does give them the option if they want to play maybe a Jack Wood or a Prestwich or, trying to fit Nisa in when he comes back from injury. So what they kind of do there, but I think Alsop will slot into that sort of number 4 or 5 position. Has been in ripping form with the bat over in England. Scored off the bat 66, 37, 86, 61 and 70. So bit of a run scoring machine. So somebody maybe to look at. If you're kind of tossing up between sort of Philippi and a cheaper keeper, maybe you could start off an Alsop there and have him ready to go. They both do have the same double, so might be a real point of difference for you. Max Bryant, I'll say no there. Paul Walter, absolute sensation last season. Obviously a lot more expensive this year, which is unfortunate, but those who were on him last year got the rewards there. So for big, tall Paul, Unfortunately, he has not had the best the best end to the first class season over there in England. Did score a 72, but outside of that, not a lot to write home about. But we do know what he kind of did in his first year last year here. He had a 101, 152, and 132, and an 86 in some of those rounds. So it's the reason why he started at 105 and got up to 208k. It'll be interesting to see if batsmen have put more time into his bowling. But yeah, somebody that they did go to quite a lot in important moments, in particular those power plays. So yeah, I think it's somebody that we've got to have a look at his early form and then potentially trade in for round 3. So him and Xavier Bartlett both are an option to go. Jamie Overton, who I talked about in the Adelaide Strikers podcast, and then move as a side swap to either a Walter or a Bartlett to bring one of them in. So definitely somebody to consider. Jack Wildermuth, even though he's got a good price, I expect him to make way for Michael Neser when Neser is available. Xavier Bartlett, 202k, very expensive, so I wouldn't start him. He is currently in 10% of teams, which is quite interesting. And Big Paul, Tall Paul, I didn't say, but he's in 9%. But I'd be looking elsewhere as a starting point and be trying to trade into one of them, maybe even potentially both of them when it gets to the round 3 double. Bartlett recently took 5 for 32 against Victoria in the first class match, and then against Pakistan in that recent series, 1 for 25, 1 for 18, and 3 for 13. So somebody who we know can take wickets, will bowl at the important times. So yeah, I think you need to have a plan for, as I said, either him or Paul Walter going from round 2 to round 3 in your setup. And the other player I really do like in this Brisbane Heat side, and I have been looking at starting him in my starting lineup, is Spencer Johnson. 22% of sides at the moment. Took 3 for 108 and 2 for 60 against WA in the first class match recently. And against Pakistan, 2 for 24, 5 for 26, 1 for 29, and none for 28. So bowling economies on his side, does take wickets, bowls really quick. There's a lot to like about Spencer Johnson. So something I would definitely consider. Maybe starting him in the flex position. Could also potentially start him on the bench, but up against the Stars first up, I think, yeah, he could be in for a good game. So, yeah, somebody I've been trying to work around to sort of start in my team, and then a bit of a set and forget there for round 3. So, in a perfect world, yeah, if I can find a way to start Renshaw and Spencer Johnson, and that doesn't affect me too much for round 2 as well. It means I've got 2 guys already locked away for round 3, and then I can work. And the fact that Stars already have a double there, I'll probably be keeping 2 or 3 of their players, and then using 3 trades or potentially 4 trades to make it up to 8 or 9 doubles, which does make it easier because you obviously want to maximise as many doubles as possible. And then the last 2, Matt Kuhneman and Mitch Swepson, they're both the spinners. I'd be waiting to see sort of what happens with their bowling loads in the first couple of weeks before committing to either of them, potentially if one gets missed out. But, just because maybe it is Optus and Gabbard, do they go maybe a different way and try to play another quick bowler and sort of the team balance when Neser comes back in there? So I wouldn't be starting any of them at the moment, but definitely just to have a watch going into that round 3 lineup. All right, that's the Brisbane Heat done. I'll be moving on to my next video, which will be the Hobart Hurricanes. Hopefully you've enjoyed that, and we'll talk soon.